You are listening to Shameless Stories, and I'm Nicola Humber, founder of the Unbound Press, soul-led publishing company for magical women writing world-changing books. And we are delighted to be the sponsor of this podcast. So enjoy, magical one.
Welcome to another episode of Shameless Stories. Now, I'm going to apologise because I haven't got my teeth in very well today. We've just had a little giggle prior to coming on recording. This is the podcast that talks about living shamelessly and identifying shame and bringing it into the light. I'm really excited to introduce my speaker. Oh God, I told you this. My speaker, Tara Punter. She is an internationally recognized business and mindset coach, founder of the best coaching company, mentor, and best-selling author of The Magnificent Mindset. You're also a host of your own podcast, so you understand what this is all about, like being real.
And I will record mine from start to finish, and I'm not editing a single thing. So I am good to just go with the flow.
I'm loving that. I'm loving the fact that we're both showing up shamelessly on our podcasts.
Yeah.
We're unable to string a sentence, in my case. And luckily, this space is just for you. So, I mean, we just talked very briefly before I press record about kind of your journey and, you know, what shame, like, a lot of people come on here and shame feels visceral to people. I'd love to know your thoughts around kind of the word shame and how that may have manifested for you in your life and like why you're sitting here today.
Yeah, so 10 years ago in May, June time, 2015, I was working a job that I categorically did not like. I was a manager in hospitality and I just had this desire for more. I knew that I was meant for more, but I didn't know what that would be. And a chance meeting led me actually to working as a journalist and social media manager, being self-employed. I had no idea what I was doing, but I thought I'm just going to say yes and figure it out. I'll keep asking for introductions. I'll keep offering to write certain things for various people. And I just put myself out there. I was bold, I was fearless, and I was just willing to just put myself in really uncomfortable situations to try and build this dream business that I suddenly had an opportunity to create. Deep down, I knew that I never wanted to go back to having a job. Like that was my driving force from day one, and 10 years later, it's still the driving force today. And the first couple of years were wonderful. So I was working as a journalist, I had some social media clients, I started doing a bit more marketing and PR, and I absolutely loved it. Then one day, in April 2017, it was a Thursday morning, it was a gorgeous sunny spring morning, and I received two emails in the space of an hour from two of my clients, and both of them had gone bust on the same day. And I just remember sitting there, my heart sank, and I thought, shit, what am I going to do? These were two of my biggest clients. One of them owed me thousands of pounds. And I was honestly left with a couple of social media management clients that were paying me £50 per week.
Right.
And I knew nothing about mindset at the time. So now I'm a mindset coach, mindset mentor, written a book all about mindset. I knew nothing about it back then. You know, I was still relatively new. I was a bit naive. I believed in myself a bit, but I knew nothing about mindset. And suddenly the realization that I had lost these two big clients and I was left with a couple of clients paying me £50 per week. I was like, well, that's not even going to cover my rent, let alone my car payment, let alone my Vodafone bill, let alone letting me eat, let alone anything. I was like, oh, dearie me. And I think the realization for me, and this was like my first real experience of shame, was that I just felt like a failure. Like I felt like I was doing their marketing. I should have known better. I should have done better. I should have been able to get them better results. And I should all over myself. And I felt so much shame around the fact that this had happened. Now, I'd say in 2017, the internet was a different space. I was on Facebook and Twitter back in the day, and I didn't follow all of these coaches and mentors and leaders and entrepreneurs because it just wasn't something I had any awareness of. And I sat with myself feeling this shame, and I didn't tell my ex-husband, I didn't tell my friends, I didn't tell anybody. I just sat there with this shame because I was so embarrassed about what had happened. And that shame lasted a month and actually led me to develop stress-induced IBS because I was just feeling so bad about the fact that this thing had happened. And that was, I think, quite a fundamental point in my entrepreneur journey when actually I thought, this has just happened to me. But I didn't know it was such a normal thing that could happen to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a cataclysmic event, and not telling anyone would have probably compounded that even further. And like the story you've just shared, and thank you for sharing it, I can so totally relate on all levels, because as an entrepreneur, that happens all the bloody time. Like even like last year, I was like, where's everyone gone? Why am I not making money? And I think, you know, the last sort of 10 years, it's been like this, hasn't it? I mean, any entrepreneur that has stood the test of time has done so with kind of, I guess, legacy contacts, you know, all these big followers, they maybe hit the eye, struck while it was hot, I don't know, but it's not the way it used to be anymore.
No. And it was really interesting when you and I first connected and I started reflecting on shame and what it meant for me. There was actually a point, it was probably last year for me as well, where, you know, the COVID years, 2020, 2021, even 2022 were insane. Like they were huge. And it was really easy then. And I had so many conversations with my own clients, I think 2023, last year, even this year, to subconsciously reflect back at how good things were back then, at the money people were making, at the clients, the sales, the launches. And it's so easy to reflect back to that. And then that can subconsciously create shame in us today. It's like, actually, that was a completely different time. You know, everybody's situation was so different back then. And it's really easy for our mind to slip into shame, to slip into not feeling good enough, to slip into comparing us now to us back then. Because, you know, you think about the entrepreneur journey and you can think it's just linear up all the time. And it's not that. So I actually had to do a bit of work myself with my own coach around actually the shame that I was feeling because my business had dropped again. And again, it's a roller coaster. It's always going up and down. Everything in life is duality. It's going up and down and in and out and light and dark. And that was a real conversation I had to keep having with myself at the point of thinking, okay, my business has dropped. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to pick it back up again?
Yeah, I think it's it is that stand up, brush your knees off, get going again. And I think the more you do it, the easier, I'm not saying it's never easy, right? But the more you do it, the more you share, the more you talk about it with your coaches, people like yourself, your peers, other entrepreneurs, the quicker you move through that cycle.
Yeah.
I've definitely found that.
Yeah. So that first kind of rock bottom moment I had in April 2017, that lasted a month. Now it would last an hour because I'd be like, okay, this thing has hit me. I can kind of, I feel I've got such a heightened awareness now of my thoughts and my emotions and my feelings that I kind of feel it coming up or I recognize the thoughts creeping in and I'm like, whoa, 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 this isn't happening. And I can snap out of it really quickly. But that just takes time. It's like the resiliency, the bounce back, it takes time. Admittedly, the first time it will take you a long time. And you're allowed to feel all those emotions. You're allowed to feel hurt. You know, we're service providers. We pour our life and soul into what we do. It's okay to feel upset or deflated at times. But I think there's a real difference between feeling upset and deflated and then letting that turn into shame that becomes a dominant thought and feeling in your body.
And then basically railroad you and sabotages. It's fascinating that you're on today because I've been having conversations about this very topic and having these feelings myself. And it's like, why am I doing, like, we all do it. I think it's like I'm bringing this now. I want to bring this into the conversation because I want people that are listening to know, who are on the entrepreneurial journey, or maybe they're not, that we all deal with it. We're all dealing with this. Like you could be the best entrepreneur, the biggest coach with all of the money, and you will still be feeling this.
Yeah, 100%.
Doesn't go away, unfortunately.
I like when I think about kind of mindset growth and different challenges we face is new level, new devil. So I fell into the world of mindset completely by accident back in 2018. I signed up to work with a coach, and then this whole 12 months was around mindset. And I felt like I'd been missold to. I was like, no, I want to grow my business. I want to make more money. I want some strategies. I didn't realize that actually the whole thing that I was craving required me to work on my mindset. And I just remember thinking like, okay, well, I'll do this for a bit and then I'll be done, right? And 2018, I don't even know what year it is now. 7 years on, quick mental maths.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, 7 years on, and there's still days that I question myself. I doubt myself. I wonder if it's all worth it. I feel I've run out of resiliency. I feel that I've lost my confidence. But I now have the heightened awareness and the kind of skill set and the techniques to be able to like bring myself back. So it's not like, you've worked on shame once, so you won't ever feel shame again. It's not like you lost your confidence, you worked on your confidence, and then you're confident again forever. This is like a continual thing that we get to refine and evolve all of the time, from mindset, from shame, from business. All of it is continual growth. And I think as entrepreneurs, we have to get comfortable in the discomfort of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything you've been saying, I've been getting the ripples up my spine. It's like, yeah, no, totally true. I hear you. I know exactly what you're saying. But I mean, going back to just kind of pulling on the thread that you mentioned there around kind of you're sat there, you've got a month's worth of wallowing going on. What did that look like? What did that look like? We don't want to sit in that, but it's good to observe. What's
Yeah.
that feeling look like, and what did you do to get out of it?
So I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning every single day in just absolute fear, worry, anxiety, all of the things. While all of this was going on, I buried my head in the sand. I kept my couple of clients that I had, so I was still doing their social media management. And I'd have just ignored everything. I thought at some point it's going to go. I was having letters from the bank because my direct debits were bouncing. And it was just an awful, awful time. But I just buried my head in the sand. And I would say it's probably about 3 weeks into the 4 week, I'm not going to say meltdown as such, but the 4 week rock bottomness.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I have to do something. I didn't feel that I could get myself out of this myself. I'd only been in business 2 years. I blagged the whole lot, to be honest, at that point. I didn't know what I was doing. So I thought I just need to find someone who can help me get out of this. And I remember that I'd met a business coach at a networking event. So I got in touch with her and I said, look, this is the situation. I'm at a rock bottom. I don't know how to get myself out of this. This has really knocked me. I feel really guilty about this. I feel full of shame around this. And she said that her coaching session was £97. And I just remember thinking, I haven't got the money. Like, I'm overdrawn. I don't have an overdraft. My direct debits are bouncing. But there was this little tiny part of my brain that said, well, how can you make that money? And what I now realize is that is what's called a growth mindset. It's when you're actually thinking, instead of saying, I can't do this, it's like, how can I? So I created a brand new offer for £50. I put it on social media and I sold two. I was like, brilliant. There's my money. And I got £3 change. Hurrah. I booked that session with her. And honestly, all of the shame feelings, all of the emotion was still there. And between, I think, booking the session and going to her house in Bristol to the session was probably about 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks.
Amazing.
Every single day, I was thinking, what can I say to get out of this? How can I cancel it? How can I, maybe I'll be ill on the day. Maybe I'll have a puncture. Maybe something will happen with a pet. Just anything. I was coming up with all of these things to not go to this session I had paid for, even though I knew it was going to help, because I felt so much shame that I'd let my business get to that point. And I remember driving the 40 minutes to her house, knocked on her door, opened the door, went into her house, and I was terrified that she was going to rip apart my business and that she was going to tell me I was crap. Absolutely terrified. But did the session. And I remember driving back from her house after that session, and I felt like a boss. Like I felt like a completely different person. I suddenly had a plan, I had a strategy, I had some new prices, new packages. I was like, I'm unstoppable now. But there were so many thoughts around, who am I to have a coach? Like I lived on a farm in the Cotswolds. I'm like, people like me don't have coaches. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was worthy. I had so much shame around my blagged business. But that one investment changed my life. And since then, I kind of have invested. So I've had coaches nonstop since then, even to this day. And it was then that I kind of started to think, actually, I want to be able to help people change their lives. And it was a month later that I actually had my first inquiry for social media coaching. And I'd shared a case study on social media, and one person messaged me saying, "Can you teach me how to do this? I want these social media results."
Yeah.
I said yes, knowing I could just figure it out. So literally, I think those 6 weeks went from absolute rock bottom to I've suddenly got a spark back, to I've got a bit of clarity, to I've had an inquiry for coaching. I didn't know what a coach was. I didn't know how to be a coach. I was like, I'll say yes and figure it out. I know social media, I can do that. And then that one yes that I said to that one client who asked me to teach him how to do social media created this whole career as a coach and mentor that is literally my calling.
Amazing. Amazing. That is it in a nutshell, isn't it? It's just all it takes is one choice, one decision, one going in the other direction to where we're sitting currently. And yeah, I mean, that is so powerful.
Yeah. I always call them crunch points. You know, when you're at a crossroads, you could go left, you could go right. You don't know what is at the end of either of those roads, but you're willing to just think, I'm just going to figure it out. Now, there was not a single part of me when I was in the thick of the rock bottomness and the shame, there wasn't a single part of me that thought all of this could be possible. You know, when I reflect back to that person who would just wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, stressed, worried, feeling alone, so anxious, so low, to what I've created since then, I'm like, she would never have believed it if you told her. But at one point, I just thought, I need to do something. I couldn't keep doing this on my own. I knew that I needed help. I realized that there's great strength in asking for help or investing in help. You know, it doesn't make you a bad person. It's not a sign of weakness. It's such a sign of strength.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that there was a batshit crazy version of me back then who just knew that she didn't want to go back and get a job. That was it back then. I was like, I don't want a job. I want to be my own boss. And I'm going to try and find £97 to pay for this coach.
That's amazing. And it just goes to show that you can effectively magic it out of thin air, out of, energetically bring that to you. And I mean, I'm guessing that's what the book's about.
Yeah, so the book is called Magnificent Mindset. And it was kind of when I fell into the world of mindset in 2018 that I was so hesitant to it at the beginning. You know, I was being told to meditate and do a morning routine and journal and make a vision board. I was like, this is woo-woo crap. I was like, nope, I'm not doing any of it. You know, just give me strategies and tell me how to sell. But when I actually started looking into it a little bit more, you know, my coach was just banging on about it all the time. And I was like, oh, fine, I'll look into it. And what I realized is that I'm someone that I've got a very scientific brain and I love to know the science behind something. I will look into anything. I'll be open-minded to anything. If there's science behind it and I can make it make sense in my head, I'm like, ooh, this could be something. So I did loads of research and I really read like the scientific books behind our minds, our thought systems, our belief systems, why we are the way we are. All of these things, and actually the science behind these kind of mindset modalities, if you like, you know, behind these techniques, how vision boards work, how journaling helps your brain. And when I had that kind of understanding, I was like, it now makes sense. So I was able to commit to it and actually go all in on it, and it changed my life. So at that point, I thought, I want to help people not have to read the 60 books that I read. I want to put everything that I possibly can into something that it's got the science, it's got the personal stories, and it's got techniques that people can actually do in their own homes to help them remove the things that are holding them back, to help them let go of the lack of confidence, to help them step into self-belief and to feel that they can do what they really, really want to do. And it's kind of throughout 2020 that I've kind of realized the impact that my mindset had on my resilience, on my ability to shake off anything that doesn't serve and support me.
Yeah.
And that was when I then started writing the book, when I was just in absolute peak state, on top of the world, felt I could do anything, completely unshakable. And I was like, I want people to have this little pink Bible, if you like, of, you know, how they can do it for themselves. And the feedback from the book's been incredible. It really has.
Oh, amazing. Again, I have another guest. I need to get this book and I need to follow.
I do this on my podcast and I interview all of these amazing people, and I'm like, there's another one for the list.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the brilliant thing about the podcast, like, and getting so many guests that, like, I personally can walk away and learn from, as well as the listeners. I think it's just, and that's great, because in real time we're learning how to be more resilient. And I mean, this is something I'm teaching my own children, and I do think what we grew up with, we weren't taught necessarily how to have a growth mindset. And I think there's a few generations that kind of just missed the mark on growth mindset. But I'm really pleased that the children, my kids, are learning how to be more resilient, the growth mindset. There was a lot of work done around COVID. And I think, you know, maybe we're lucky in our school, but I wonder if there's, you know, the types of people that are coming to you that are needing the support. I'm guessing they're a certain age, or they're moving through. I mean, who are you typically working with, and what are their, I call them sliding door moments. You have crunch points. I think they're both one and the same, but what are they, you know, what's their crunch point when they come to you? I'm fascinated to know.
Yeah, great question. So I've kind of got two ideal client types. Half of the work that I do is with business owners. So for them, it's very much, you know, questioning themselves around pricing, or not feeling good enough to follow up on an invoice that's overdue, or not feeling confident to show up online.
I need you in my life. Yeah. Yes,
These are just such common things. You know, you suddenly feel like you need to put your prices up. What are then the thoughts that happen? Who am I to put my prices up? I'm not good enough. What if someone says no? What if someone demands a refund? All of these thoughts just happen when you've had one teeny tiny thought of, I'd like to put my prices up. Let's think about, okay, I want to show up online. Do you want to show up on video or just create a post? What if so-and-so I went to school with sees it? Jane I went to school with 20 years. What if she sees this? What's she going to think? Who cares?
I'm laughing. I'm absolutely, you're making me howl right now, because I've got two little stories just to add to what you're saying. Number one, I didn't go to a bunch of networking events locally to me where I live, for fear of bumping into someone I went to school with. Number one. Number two, and I never have, never will, never. I don't think that will ever happen. They've all faded away.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I did, I'm going to shamelessly own it, is I created a persona who was bad cop in my business. And I know someone else who did this too. And I created an email address. So that person, that individual, would be the person chasing up the invoices.
Yeah, I know so many people that do that. So many people. And if it helps you just, put your boss hat on to take that action, so be it.
But it is quite funny, really, like a grown person doing me. I'm admitting I have done that in the past.
Honestly, I know so many people that have done it. And if it's like a coping mechanism or something to help you just do that, then perfect. Like if it's going to help you achieve what you want to achieve, that's great. But yeah, there's so many actions that we take in business that actually requires our mindset. It requires our belief system. It requires us to put our brave pants on. It requires us to feel more bold and confident and do what we need to do in order to grow the business. So that's kind of half of my clients. And then the other side is that I help people who are kind of like senior leaders and directors in the corporate world. So theirs is pure mindset coaching, and it's all about their resilience, team leadership, personal power, navigating challenges, their identity at work, how they, manage their team, if they're going for promotions, and all of those sorts of things. So I've got two really, really nice ideal client types. I'd say all of it is underpinned by mindset. And obviously then with the business coaching, I then bring in strategy, marketing, brand awareness, growth, sales, launching, and all of that kind of like strategic action pieces.
I love that. So you're kind of a one-stop shop for somebody who's starting a business or is in the growth stages of entrepreneurial business. Oh my God.
The words are not coming today, are they?
I mean,
yeah. And what I love about the kind of work that I do with my kind of business owner clients is that actually there's similar fears and beliefs at all levels. So the fears that someone's going to have starting out is that they're going to question themselves, they're not going to know how to sell, they're not going to know how to package themselves. How do they send an invoice? Do they need a website? What about logo? What about, they don't feel good enough, or they've got imposter syndrome? The kind of thoughts and situations that I'm going to help someone with who's, I don't know, scaling to seven figures, they're going to be completely different, but it's still mindset and strategy. So everything I do is kind of mindset work and strategic work to help people get from where they are to where they want to be.
Yeah, you're just going a lot deeper with the different levels, which, like you say, the really good analogy there. Same level, different devil, effectively.
Yeah, new level, new devil.
Different devil. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is that is, and then you see that so much in lots of, as coaches progress. There's a lot of them about that are at the higher echelons, but I suspect that they are still managing, like you say, they're still dealing with that mindset, that visibility piece, that showing up, which again is like, it plays into the shameless piece, because I see so many coaches. I was looking at a couple this morning, like talking about their actual stories, and I think that's where the sweet spot is now as we move into 2025. Like you say, it's like things are evolving. People want to know about these stories that they've always kind of kept close to their chest. Like there's this magic person that shows up and is an amazing entrepreneur, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I think the time for that is over. I think people need to know a little bit about the struggles that people have every day. It's keeping it real, isn't it? That's what we're craving. We're not interested in the facade so much.
No, and I think it's something that is such an important part of your marketing strategy, because it's something that differentiates you.
Yeah.
There can be a billion coaches or a billion competitors that you have, but nobody has your story matched with your view of life, your approach, your experience, your qualifications, your journey, your story, your all of your things. So when you match your story with all of these things that make you you, you have your magic sauce. Like that is the thing that's going to make somebody buy from you. And I always love to kind of help clients kind of pull out what their crunch point moments are.
Yeah.
I've got them to this point in business. Because actually, I always share my rock bottom moments. One of my friends and clients said to me recently, I could tell your April 2017 story. And I was like, my work here is done. That's what I want. I want people to be able to say, it was a sunny Thursday morning in April 2017 and she received 2 emails in 1 hour. Like, I've told that story so many times because it was such a foundational story of my whole journey. Cool. And I just want it to give one person hope. If one person takes from this podcast that they're there right now and it gives them a bit of hope, this has been the greatest spending of my time that I can possibly give. Like, that is genuinely how I feel about that. Yeah. And I think the more storytelling that entrepreneurs and especially coaches and creatives can bring into their business, it's going to relate to their ideal clients. Their ideal clients are going to feel more connected to them. They'll feel that they know, like, and trust them that little bit more. And sometimes a story can be the difference between someone choosing you or your competitor, because they relate to something, they feel an emotional connection to something. So definitely bring more storytelling into content. 100%.
100%. Oh, we're so aligned. I love that. On a lot, the alignment of the mission is just amazing. And just, well, I said I'm going to be getting your book because I really need to dive into that one.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so happy that you joined me today. Is there anything else you want to share? I think you shared loads of amazing nuggets, actually, but where can we find you?
So I hang out the most on Instagram, which is the Best Coaching Co. My book, Magnificent Mindset, is on Amazon. And then my podcast is called Thrive in Life and Business. And I think one takeaway message is we're always going to have these thoughts, these fears. Shame is always going to creep up, especially as women. We're very intuitive. We have a whole array of emotions going on. But one thing that I always kind of tell myself is that anything is possible. And actually the challenging times, the pain, the struggle, it won't last forever. It can't last forever. And that, everything comes back up again. Yeah. So wherever you're at in business, either be celebrating yourself for the wins and the growth, or be celebrating yourself because you're about to make it through a crunch point moment.
Yeah. Oh, it's those crunch point moments are hell.
I mean, they feel it at the like, and when you're in the thick of it, they feel like the worst thing in the world. But
Yeah.
when you're out the other side and you can look back, you will find learnings. You will find things that you know about yourself, or boundaries that you need to put in place, or the way that you want to run your business. You know, at that time in April 2017, I didn't ever think that I would be grateful for that moment. But I can look back at that now and think, okay, it taught me some things. It taught me about my boundaries. It taught me about my pricing, my invoicing, contracts. It taught me about so many things. And I am grateful for that moment because it actually makes the good times feel even better.
Love that. Amazing. Oh, well, Tara, thank you so much for coming on today. I've learned a lot. I'm hoping that the listeners have learned a lot. If you want to connect with Tara, all of the links will be in the show notes. Go and grab a book. I think I'm definitely going to. And thank you again for coming on and sharing your shameless story.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Keep doing fabulous work as well.